Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach Podcast. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and today for a second time we have Aneesh. Now this is the second episode where we're talking about how to become interesting, how to have new hobbies. And I think this is something that we all need to do. But this is part 2. Make sure you listen to part 1 before listening to this. But how do you manage your money with these kinds of hobbies? Yeah, won't it be one like little pit that you build and just keep throwing money into it?
So let's look at another hobby that can be extremely expensive. Watches.
Okay.
Right? There's no limit on how much you can spend on
and go in
watches.
the millions.
Yeah, you can spend millions literally on watches and there's no end to it. But you can also get a mechanical watch for 2,000 rupees from HMT, which will, again, it's a classic. You cannot go wrong with it. It serves as a dress watch. Like, you can wear it with a suit. You can just wear it casually. So that's a great hobby that you don't have to actually break the bank to get into. 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees for a mechanical watch. What more do you want? And a lot of that technology is from Citizen. So most of the watchmaking know-how for HMT came from Citizen. And of course, a joint venture between the Indian government and Citizen. And I'm not sure how many other people might have been involved in the project, but that's how it's so cheap. And it blows my mind. $50, like anyone who's listening from not from India, for that price point to get hand wound watches is crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And especially because of them threatening to shut down.
Yeah.
Everyone suddenly said
That's how I got into it.
Did you buy the entire collection?
I have about 42 HMTs. So again, I would not suggest anyone to do this.
Yes.
I did this from that point of view that, okay, HMT is shutting down.
Value will go up.
And no, not from the value. Just that, okay, let's just get these.
Where do you keep 42 watches, Aneesh?
I have those watch boxes, but
then where do you stay? Then you have to move out of the house after all of
watches
these
and
things.
sneakers and vinyls. But what HMT did, and they still do, they announced some good 4 or 5 years back that they're shutting down. So everyone was flocking to get HMTs. Everyone as in our hipster whatever community. HMT's website is still live and still has products. And every week some new product will show up. That means that they've not shut. So when they announce this, you would end up picking up one watch, two watch. Then you would suddenly say, "Hey, this one's back. Must only be one or two, right? Let's just pick it up." And then I joined this one HMT Facebook group, which I'm so happy. Like, I don't have Facebook on my phone anymore. But they would keep saying, "Guys, there's 2 more watches have shown up." And then everyone's running to buy those. So I fell in that HMT trap for a while. And then I was like, you know what, I have enough. I have 2, 3, like a HMT Pilot is a classic one. There's one. So there are multiple names they have. Most of the hand-bound, the internals are the same. And for the automatic watches, the internals are the same. Then cosmetic changes on the dials. But HMT is a great way to get into watches without breaking the bank at all.
And I think this is the whole thing about getting hobbies, getting interests, because overall you become an interesting person.
Yeah.
Right? And you can have a conversation with almost anybody you meet because your interests are so varied.
Yeah.
It becomes just so easy to talk to people with.
Yeah, and so many people have spoken to me because of the watch I was wearing. And again, none of these are expensive watches. None of them will... I think my most expensive watch must be 20,000 rupees.
That's it?
That's it.
So you haven't sold a kidney yet for a watch?
No. Even what I'm wearing, the Moon's watch, which in resale is selling for like 5 times the price. I've got it on retail, so I will not pay extra for a watch. But yeah, there are watches that you'll spend lakhs and crores on. I am nowhere there, and neither do I want to be. But it's just fun to find affordable, nice, easy watches.
And let's talk a little bit about the communities. You obviously interact a lot with the communities of these hobbies that you're in. How does one get into a community? Are they friendly? Is it intimidating at first? Like, people listening in, what should they do?
So if I look at the HMT example, when I joined these Facebook groups, it did seem a little intimidating because there were people who had 200, 300 HMTs. So I was like, okay, you know what? I really am very new to this, and it can be a little intimidating. But I do think everyone, at least that I've interacted with, everyone's there to help. Cigars, I can give you an example of cigars. There's a gentleman called Rocky Patel. Look at any cigar listing in the top 10, he'll 100% be there. Pioneer in many ways of, like, he changed a bunch of things in the cigar production on that side. Oh, yeah. Internationally. He's based out of Florida. Cigars are made, of course, in Dominican and other countries. I got into cigars through a friend, and then he was coming to India, so I met him. I knew nothing about cigars. And here's a owner of a company who does really good cigars. He'll sit with you, he'll explain everything, take you through everything. Doesn't feel intimidating, just nice and helpful. I need to do that with 10 people, 100 people. He'll do it every time he's in India, or I'm sure he does it wherever he travels. So I do think everyone that I've at least interacted with has been very, very friendly. On the outside, it might seem that this might be intimidating and stuff, but usually it's not been. Same goes with winemakers. Everyone's friendly.
Yeah.
And I think if you go with the intent that the moment you say, hey, I don't know much about this, I think that works so much better than you trying to
show off
or say, just trying to fake your way through it.
Yeah.
The moment you tell someone, hey, I want to learn more about this, that's it.
And there are so many different hobbies to choose from. I think, and I'm so happy that we're doing this episode, because I've noticed one thing, especially when I interact with people online, hobbies are becoming something which is fading away. Hobbies were the entertainment 40 years ago, right? All our parents had hobbies that they used to do because that was their source of entertainment. And through their hobbies, they grew. Now our entertainment has moved to consumption instead of just learning, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's getting hobbies back into our lives is such an important one.
I think it just balances out so many things, right?
Yeah.
From all aspects. Mental sanity, like, at some point you also will want to stop consumption of content, right? How much of that will you also consume? Hobbies super important, and I'm happy that we grew up with a lot of hobbies, right? Whether it was something, I don't know if I'll piss someone off, something as lame as stamp collecting, and I'm saying lame because we went and just bought those stamp collections.
You did the same thing?
Yeah, we all did, right?
Yeah. My dad used to actually write letters so that he could get stamps. We just went and bought the...
So my dad would write letters to my mom in these things called first day covers.
First day covers? What are those?
So basically when a stamp launched, on launch day it would come with a envelope to match it, which would be the first day cover. So that was kind of cool. Also, I don't know if the Mumbai GPO still does this, but I'd done this about 5 years back, where you can go, give them a photograph, and they'll put on a stamp for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have your picture on a stamp?
I do. It's for your use, and it's legit stamps. You can
send a letter with it.
Send a letter with it,
and you get your stamp.
But you can do that at the post office in Bombay. They did this at least 4-5 years back. I'm assuming they still do it. And they have a lot of limited edition stuff there as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I remember my great grand uncle. He used to have this suitcase full of stamps that he had got from corresponding with people all over the world. And in the afternoon, he would open it up and open up a stamp, look at it under a magnifying glass, have a little smile on his face, reminisce about how he got it. And that was the way that hobby collection took place. I think getting that passion about something back into our lives so critical.
Yeah, and I think you have to be passionate about everything you do. There's only a certain amount of passion that you'll bring to work, right? You cannot be 24/7 hours passionate about your work, no matter what you do. You will want some break from there. But I think, at least for me, I've been lucky that I've always picked things that I'm really passionate about, because I genuinely want to keep carrying them on throughout my day, right? Even if it's sipping coffee, like all these small examples, right? You look down on your watch, it feels nice. No one's looking at a watch. No one's getting a watch only for timekeeping. A mechanical watch is a lot more inaccurate than your phone or quartz or anything, right? But it's a physical thing on your wrist ticking, which is fascinating.
You started.
Yeah, you started. Like, you in the morning have to wind it. It's going on, and it's just a fun little break in between.
Hello, hello, hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Drives, Cyrus is joined by Puneet K. Goyal. Puneet is the co-founder of Blue Smart, India's first all-electric ride-hailing service. Driving around the city in the Volvo XC40 Recharge, Cyrus and Puneet talk about how the taxi service sector around the globe is adapting to electric vehicles. Don't forget to check out the video edition of this episode on the Cyrus Says YouTube channel, and there are some really funny bits over here, especially pay attention to what happens when they hit the toll plaza. On Postcard from Nowhere's Ireland Untraveled series, Utsav explores foghorns, their colonial connection, and the X Club, a not-so-secret scientific organization. On Credit Smart with Sybil, Anupam, and Sujata decode some of the factors that might hinder a good credit score and help you arrive at solutions. On Storytellers and Story Sellers, Vineet is joined by travel vlogger MSK, and they talk about how his fear of the camera actually helped his vlogging career. And on The Longest Constitution, Priya talks about slum eviction as well how the use of contempt of court has crippled freedom of expression over the years. Once again, I'd like to remind you all, don't forget to visit our merch store. It's on ivmpodcast.com. We have a link to the store. It'll take you to our partner's website, beyondfollow.com, and you can go directly beyondfollow.com/IVM. Also, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please do spread the word about this show or any of the other shows that you are listening to. You can do this by telling a friend, because word of mouth is helpful, or rate or review these shows wherever you're listening to them. That is also really helpful to us. And just a reminder, a number of our shows are available on YouTube as full video podcasts. Do check those out as well. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: Bumble, Volvo XC40 Recharge, Heads Up for Tails, HDFC Mutual Fund, and TransUnion Civil. Thank you so much for making this possible.
When it comes to hobbies, you turned a hobby into a profession.
Yeah.
Should people be turning hobbies into profession? Should they not? What are your thoughts on this?
So I'm lucky that I've always done that.
Okay.
But then you also have days where you wonder, what if it wasn't? And what if I just had a great job? I don't think there's anything wrong with working for someone else. It's just that I've not done that till now. But there are times when I do wonder. I was like, yeah, what if I was in a great job in a great multinational company, and that would be fun. So
no, but if you turn your passion project or your hobby into a passion project and then ultimately a business, do you feel that the hobby suffers? Do you feel that the passion that you had starts waning?
That happened with me with photography.
Okay.
So when I got into photography, came to Bombay, I was lucky to meet a lot of photographers at that point. And Atul Kasbekar and a bunch of these veteran photographers started this exhibition called Exhibit A, which was for all commercial photographers to show personal work. And it came down from this point that, we want to show our personal work, not commercial work, that somewhere, put like that monotony of commercial work, this, that. I never understood that concept. And I do it as photography, you're photographers. I'm assuming you guys are having fun.
Doing it in any case.
Right? And then when I started shooting a lot more, and you realize that no, not every shoot is
fun
or fulfilling in your creative whatever way, right? I've done a lot of those Lokhandwala model portfolio stuff, right? Beyond a point, it's not fun. So even if you pick something that you're really passionate about, there are days that it's not passionate. You won't be. Can't be that every day you're passionate about that. But I think if you're lucky enough to build on that, you should. But I also think that you need to think of long-term stability. Again, if I look at photography and I look at someone like Atul back in the day had the foresight to diversify. He's still one of the best photographers in the country, but he also does film production now.
Correct.
And I think anything to do with passion is great, but just think a little more long-term.
So not just deep diving into one thing, but also like branching out, seeing how this can move in other directions.
Yeah,
right?
and where will it be 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line?
Interesting. Seeing the future of this hobby and where it's going.
Yeah, like Atul had come for a photography. He was taking a photography class for us. And he that time said, this is 2004, 2005. He's like, why are you guys becoming photographers, become cinematographers? And that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
None of us took him seriously that time with that advice.
Today it's all about video.
Yeah.
Right? Video is just taken away. Instagram doesn't like promote your pictures anymore. It has to be video. When it comes to these hobbies, sorry, I missed my point. How are we on time? Huh. I remember what I would ask. We should get more of these cork ones, huh?
Yeah.
So, what are the new hobbies on the horizon for you? Or passion projects or shocking things?
New things on the horizon.
Are you becoming a fur expert?
I'm going back. Going
Vietnam
back
is
to Vietnam.
becoming the new
Yeah, I will be the Vietnam influencer soon.
Vietnamese influencer. Love it.
Just for context, I'm going back to Vietnam twice for the second time this month. I think what's on the horizon for me is my marathon.
Okay.
Because that again is such a
You're
big
going to turn it into a
subculture.
hobby? Or you're.
So I hate running, but I love running a marathon.
Okay.
And before marathon Nazis.
Do you like the vibe? Is that the.
Yeah, come down on me. I mean, half marathons. I've done 4 half marathons, and I'm preparing for my first full marathon, which is on 15 Jan in Bombay. It's a fascinating hobby. It's a fascinating subculture. Also, from a fitness, it's got a very practical aspect to it. But on my own, I hate running.
The most dangerous sport in the world, you know that?
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Dangerous. Huh?
Most dangerous. Number of fatalities is highest in running than anything else done.
Really? Like in terms, like how?
Because for two reasons. One is the most number of people are running than any
Okay.
other
Yeah.
dangerous sport. But the second thing is that you are doing a cardiovascular activity for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
And you remember the story of marathon?
Yeah,
dude who
because
ran
he
the
had-
first
and he
marathon
ran,
died.
right? Yeah.
So obviously he's setting a precedence for
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are obviously going to get banned by the running community from here onwards.
Great. So I'm into dangerous things, I guess.
You're living wild.
But running, like I meet so many people and they're like, yeah, running is so therapeutic. It just clears my mind. I get ideas. I hate running. I get bored.
I get bored.
I was like, why am I doing this? But that vibe of running, and I've only done it in Bombay. What a vibe. And just to get to run on the ceiling. That was my motivation to do the half marathon.
For me, it would be to get to pee off the ceiling. Because that's what everybody does when they're running the marathon.
Yeah. That's the only time you can do it.
Yeah.
But my sole motivation of doing the Mumbai half marathon was to run on the ceiling twice, because you start from Worli, you go on the ceiling and take a U-turn and come back. On the full marathon, you only cross it once. But yeah, it's fascinating. So many different views, right? And I'm training for my 42K, and then I'm seeing people who do 100Ks. I was like, man, now my 42 looks like a joke, right? How do you just casually run 100K 2-3 times a month? And then you start seeing their training, and a lot of them casually do 421Ks in a week.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
And just the amount of time spent, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing, right? How
That's-
much time we
yeah.
spend on our hobbies.
Yeah. But for me, I think in my current horizon, being a little more serious about running, like again, this is my whole thing. If I get into something, I really want deep dives, and I have to go to Kokila Ben, get my running analysis done, get my new VO2 max test done. So I'll behave like I'm some pro level athlete doing it. I remember the first time I went to Kokila Ben for my VO2 max test. They're like, I think they saw me and they're like, yeah, athlete lagta to nahi hai. But they're like, what do you do? Which sport? I was like, no sport. Just want to get my analysis done. Which I'm assuming they don't get too many people otherwise to do those tests. But yeah, I think somewhere also when you get into a hobby, it's just feels like fun to do these extra things also.
That is it, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then what is the point of doing
Yeah.
it, right? You don't do it to show off.
Yeah.
You do it for yourself. The show off is the byproduct.
Yeah. And this again for me somewhere is self-love or whatever, right? You're having fun with yourself. That sounds wrong, but
That's also a hobby. So
yeah, that's another hobby. But so I have this thing where a lot of my gym wear or my running tees have my name behind, right? There's no need to do it, but for me it feels good to do it, and that's it. One small tweak in addition to that thing also.
fantastic. Any last words on people who want to start a hobby? Where should they begin?
You can literally make anything into a hobby. Something as obscure as candles and wax, like could be anything, right? My suggestion would very seriously be to consider coffee. Like rethink what you think of coffee, because coffee is not supposed to be a bitter black beverage. There's so much, like coffee is more complex than wine for that matter. You can start your day with coffee. You can have 5 cups of coffee, which you can't do with a lot of other beverages. So coffee is a great one, especially in India, because we grow good coffee now. What else can I think of? I think watches is the other one. If you've never had a mechanical watch, and I don't think most of us do, because even for me it's a relatively new thing, right? I started my watch collection 6-7 years back. Get a HMT. Just get it. If nothing else, your future generations will be happy about it.
Yeah, they don't get spoiled.
Yeah.
Oh, we missed one important one. Ice. So,
Ice,
guys,
yes.
Aneesh is obsessed with ice, especially through the entire lockdown. I
Yeah.
think this is where your ice obsession started. And then we will end the podcast after we discuss ice, because I want to know about ice.
So a lot of people are like, what did you do in the lockdown, right? People are like, yeah, I learned a language. I got fit. I made ice. So the thing with ice is you want to have clear ice.
Mm-hmm.
So water has impurities in it, gas, all of that stuff. And when you get ice from your freezer, it's not clear, right? The whole idea was, how do you get clear ice? And it's actually a very simple thing to do. So 2-3 things to it. First is to get the ice clear. Now, you basically, if you look at YouTube or things, there'll be 10,000 things that boil it, double boil it. Don't have to do anything. You basically want to freeze ice in a container that you can isolate from 3 sides. So even if
Meaning?
you take even if you take like a Tupperware or something,
Right.
keep the lid open,
Mm-hmm.
but on the sides just wrap it with a towel or something.
Okay.
So basically the ice is freezing from one side,
Oh, it's freezing from the top down.
top down.
Okay.
So basically all the impurities will start to go at the bottom. So your top, most of the ice will be clear and all your impurities will be below. So that's the first step to get clear ice to begin
But
with.
then the bottom will be unclear. Will be
Yeah.
cloudy.
Yeah, and that you can just chip off.
Oh, you could chip it off.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's not even frozen. You can just take the whole thing out. So your bottom is still water, but rest of the ice is clear. So one part is to make the clear ice. Second is to cut it. Cutting ice is fun. I don't know how to explain this, but then I got into like
The Japanese diamonds and all of
yeah,
that.
then making diamonds and all, which is also it's actually pretty easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
But first you get your clear ice,
Mm-hmm.
then you start to learn how to cut ice, which is usually the bigger blocks are with, take any serrated or a bread knife and you just make a incision, like one line, and just tap on it and just breaks
Wow.
beautifully in that way that you first used your knife. Then you can make diamond shapes, you can do spheres. It's fun.
It's endless, huh?
It's endless. And then there are these ice sculptors and all. That's another level of things. But basically, you want clear ice in your cocktail because it dilutes slower.
Okay.
So,
So clear
because
ice is better.
yeah.
It melts slower.
it'll melt slower. So
Interesting.
that's the practical aspect of clear ice in cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can do. Then you can also put your name on the ice. Like
Mhm.
you can put a logo or a name. So I'd recently last art fair for BMW. I'd done the cocktails for them in their lounge. So I put my name and their logo on the ice, and people couldn't believe that you can have a logo on ice. And it's a very simple thing to do. It's like those stamps you have for wax seals. It's literally that stamp you put on ice, and it just
But
puts
did
the
you
logo
make
on
it separately? Are people in Bombay making them? Did you get it from abroad?
Yeah. Any stamp, any guy who does those wax.
They'll do it
it's
for
the
you.
same thing. It's that same stamp. But man, when people see a logo or a name on the ice, their mind is blown. They're like, "How did this happen?" Like I was
Fantastic.
taking a knife and carving it.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting paid all these
Yeah.
this insane amount of money. 2 hours per ice cube. Lovely. Anish, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
Habit
you for
Coach
having me.
podcast. How can people follow you? How can people continue this conversation with you?
So my Instagram handle is Aneesh B, ANEESH, B for Bombay. That's the best way.
Mm-hmm. And please go check out Anish thing on IVM and all the wherever you listen to
Yeah,
podcasts.
please download it. Please rate it 5 stars.
Instantly before
Yeah,
listening to the first
before
episode.
listening.
5 stars.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.